Okay, I am in possession of massive amounts of gravy for you guys. And I want you to remember, this means that you are something big. I'm going to tell you what this means after I show you what you're looking at. This is a piece that I pulled. You can see the large stick going through the middle. I haven't even flipped it back over yet. I'm showing you this as I discover it myself, in the spirit that I have conducted my entire YouTube, showing you, telling you as I discover things myself. You can still see the bark on it on the other side much more clearly, unburnt. In the middle of this pile of melted aluminum. Now, I was already going to make a video and give you guys a tutorial about how you airbrush it with this with these brushes and a vacuum, like a shop vac, and you turn it around on the blower side and you use both of them simultaneously, and it's how I do the plasma wood. So I'm going to turn this back over, but before I do, you see all the little sticks in there? I'm going to lacquer this. There's a bunch more on the other side. See the little sticks in there? And in the place where there's not little sticks, I've airbrushed it out, and it's like a fossil of a stick. I'll show you a spot now. You can see the lines of where the bark of the wood was in the molten metal as it quickly dries. I'll get a more stable video later. Like I said, I'm just seeing this for the first time. I was going to clear off my porch to show you these pieces of wood, which are from the bridge. These two go together, and these two go together, and I'll show you that at the point of the knot, where this bulge matches this indentation. And I'll show you how they go right together, just like that. This is the underside of these boards. This is the underside of the boards that were bolted to the bridge, and this is where they bolt up to the bridge, the cross members of the bridge. As you cross the bridge, there's side rails here and here, and those rails run this way under the bridge, and this is the underside. So we're going to flip them over, and I'm going to show you these from the top side, where they have laser-like pieces removed. But I've come up with a different understanding of how this could be part of the natural phenomenon. As the rails of the bridge go over the bridge that way, just like the awning, just like the metal on the awning, go over the bridge that way and get electrified during these electric fires. The places in the middle where it crosses over from one to the other and makes a connection may be where it's got a finger that pops up through the wood. But at the same time, during those same fires, my brother-in-law lived up Hideaway Canyon and had smoke all around him, but only blue sky directly above him, which made him look up, and he saw a blinking star in midday, like the fiber optic laser weapons, which is what I've been calling this. And the link in the description that I'm going to go show you some frames from and some short clips of is actually the second video I took of this. This was my very first plasma fire, but the first video I took of this bridge got erased. The first time my channel got erased after I took videos of the sun tunnel. I went back and took video while these were still attached to the bridge. Later on, I went back and took another video where they had replaced the 18 or 20, 25 boards for the 18 laser strikes, because a lot of the laser strikes are right on the seam between two boards. And it takes out a strip like this, except right on the seam between two boards for whatever reason. So if it's fiber optic laser, it often goes directly for the seam between two boards. The only reason this is cracked right here and this board split is because right in the middle of the board it's missing all the way through, burnt evenly. And the way that you know this is like a laser strike is because there is no gradual burn line from 100% missing to 0, not even hot, over here right up to there. It's like a laser went through there. And that's what I've been calling these. And I'm going to turn the boards over and show you the top and video from when they were attached to the actual bridge itself in Spanish Fort. But as I said, the video is the second time I went back, so I was more calm and collected. There's a third video where I went back and showed you they've replaced these 25 boards, and that's when I grabbed these, which were laying to the side. So I've given you two options of how that could be fiber optic laser or the rails of the bridge being electrified, and somehow when they arc across, it leaves one of these in the board. Now, I'm going to show you the video, or just tell you about the video and link it in the description, that I was watching a couple days ago, where I went from calling them directed energy weapon fires to plasma fires. And I said so in the video. I'm going to go from calling them directed energy weapon to plasma fires. And in this video, I just got back from church. I'm wearing a suit and tie, so I'm all dressed nice. And I said that I'm about to go check out the fire that happened up on this hill. When I tried to wake them up and they didn't want to. They wanted to sleep through it. And I went up on the hill later. And indeed it was plasma fire, and it made its way halfway down to the road, and they stopped it. The fire patrolmen get up there and stopped it at the road. And during this video that I'm making, I think it's titled Red Pill Laws. They were making red flag laws. Anyone in your family can turn you in for being a crazy man like myself. And I was making a video about these new red flag laws and calling them red pill laws. Anyone that's red pilled and woke is now 1984 style crime think guilty. And with these red flag laws, any one of your red-pilled relatives, you can call the authorities and turn them in, and they'll come take their guns. Say they're a danger to themselves and others because they're red-pilled. And they call them red flag laws. And I was making that video when the policemen and the fire show up right here and start squirting my neighbor's house down. And I say that I think he might have been hit because he wasn't keeping his property up. And he might have been hit by something like this, directed. And this is a pole that I grabbed from his house. You can see it's burnt with a perfect line going all the way down on two sides. Burnt on two sides, unburnt on two sides. We're going to pull this over here and show you a little closer. This side overlaps by a finger width, but it is still a perfect straight line, unburned all the way down. Completely unburned on two sides. This line is a perfect line right on the manufacturer's edge, all the way up and down. So what that tells me, if you hit this with a light, in the video, in the description, when I go over and film my neighbor's house, sure enough, he was hit with something like this. Because as you can see, that edge is a perfect edge all the way down. on this side. Perfectly on the manufacturer's line. And it's totally burnt on one side, two sides, all the way down, all the way up. And it's totally unburnt on the other two sides, all the way down, all the way up. But on one side it overlaps by a finger width from the manufacturer's line. The manufacturer's line is here. The other one had a perfect line right on the manufacturer's line. In the video, you'll see that there's two round poles that are burnt exactly like the trees in my last video that I uploaded where it said vaporized vehicle, and you see the round poles have a perfect line burnt right up them. These both are what would happen on a shadow line if light was projected at a square or round pole. From right here, it would only hit one side. From right here, it would hit two sides. The unburnt side on the right and the burnt side on the left. From right here, it would hit only one side perfectly. From right here, it hits both sides, clear over to past this point. Well, no, right there. Just before it hits this way, right there. From this point, clear over around to just before here, right there, it would burn these two sides. Right there, it's directly even with the manufacturer's edge. And if it hit from just this side of centered like that on the manufacturer's edge, that would account for why it overlapped this side by a finger width. Because it didn't come from directly in line, it came from slightly this direction. So it overlapped that edge and left this edge perfect. And on the circular pole, on the two telephone poles that were right by it, you can see a straight line. That tells you exactly the direction it came from, 90 degrees from that straight burn line. That's how shadows work. Except the electricity is coming up and grounding out. As you can see, I need to get this lacquered. For me to be in this possession of this type of evidence, I'm about to turn this over and show you the top side and what this means. This means the molten metal dried quickly on the wood with all those little tiny pieces in it. There's even more on the other side. The molten metal did not melt from the burning wood. The wood got burnt from the molten metal, because the molten metal hit the wood liquid and the wood was still unburnt. That's what that means. I'm gonna blow some of the pieces out, but I'm gonna lacquer this like immediately. See all the little sticks in there that weren't even burned? See how this has still got the unburnt bark on it? A piece of the bark started to blow off when I was using my technique of the airbrush. And I was like, no, I want the bark still on there. Because that is screaming the evidence of what I'm telling you. And all the little sticks everywhere. They scream the same thing. And you can see how it like grabs a hold of this stick around the whole thing on both ends. Right here it wraps around it. You can see how there was a little bit more of the stick right here based on the curvature of the molten metal and the way it formed right there.